Deep in the heart of the Middle East, a war is being fought. But this isn't a war of grand declarations or armies clashing on open fields. No, this is a story about a hidden, high-stakes conflict, one that's fought in the shadows, across borders, and in places you can't even see. A conflict that threatens to set an entire region on fire. And that really begs the question, right? How can two powerful nations be locked in this relentless struggle for decades? A fight that plays out everywhere and nowhere, all at once. Well, let's pull back the curtain on this undeclared war. So here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll define what this war in the shadows really is. Then, we'll dig into the two opposing strategies at play. We'll visit its main battleground, confront the ultimate red line, and finally, look at why this has the entire region teetering on the edge. Okay, so let's start right here with this idea of a war that's being fought way beyond the lines you see on a map. A shadow war isn't fought face to face. Think of it more like a lethal game of chess, played with proxies and spies and satellites. It's this relentless, quiet confrontation that avoids the big spectacle of traditional warfare, but trust me, it is no less deadly. And you have to understand, the battlefields for this war are, well, they're everywhere. On land, it's fought with covert operations. At sea, with these mysterious attacks on ships. In the air, you have surgical strikes carried out by jets under the cover of darkness. And in cyberspace, it's a constant, invisible war of digital ghosts attacking critical infrastructure. And, like any great conflict, this one is driven by two competing grand strategies, two master plans for regional dominance that are just clashing constantly in the shadows. On one side, you have Iran's axis of resistance, and on the other, Israel's Octopus Doctrine. Just the names alone tell you you're looking at two radically different ways of fighting a war. So Iran's game plan? It's all about strategic encirclement. By funding and arming this whole network of proxies, Hezbollah in Lebanon, Hamas in Gaza, militias in Syria and Iraq, the goal is to create a ring of fire around Israel, to challenge its defenses from basically every direction. And Israel's answer to that? It's what's known as the Octopus Doctrine. The logic here is pretty simple. Why waste your time just cutting off the tentacles when you can go straight for the head? This means targeting Iran directly, with precise airstrikes on weapon shipments, with cyber warfare against their nuclear sites, and even targeted assassinations of key figures. The whole idea is to disrupt the network at its very source. And nowhere do these two doctrines clash more openly, more visibly, than in the war-torn landscape of Syria. Hundreds. Just let that number sink in. That's how many airstrikes Israel has reportedly carried out in Syria. This isn't just an occasional skirmish, it's a constant, undeclared air campaign, a relentless drumbeat of war that's become the background noise of the Syrian conflict itself. And what this creates is this constant repeating cycle. Iran uses Syria like a highway to get advanced weapons to its ally, Hezbollah. So in response, Israel hits these convoys and bases over and over again. For Israel, the goal is to prevent an absolute strategic nightmare. Thousands of high-precision missiles aimed at its cities, right from across the border. But underneath all these proxy wars and airstrikes, there's a much deeper, much more fundamental fear. It's the one thing that could turn this shadow war into an all-out open war. You see, for Israel, Iran's nuclear program isn't just another strategic problem on a map. No, it's seen as an existential threat, a danger not just to its policies or its borders, but to its very survival. It would completely change the balance of power in a region where, for a long time, Israel has been the sole undeclared nuclear state. And Israeli leaders have been absolutely crystal clear about this. They've essentially said, we will do whatever it takes to stop Iran from getting a nuclear bomb with or without the backing of our allies. That is a line in the sand. And this isn't some distant, far-off problem. In the minds of the strategists in both Tel Aviv and Tehran, this is a ticking clock. And nobody really knows when that clock is going to strike zero. So when you put all of this together, the competing doctrines, the constant airstrikes, this nuclear standoff, you get an entire region that has been pushed right to the very edge of a cliff. Honestly, the best way to think about it is like a fragile house of cards. Each card is a nation, a conflict, an alliance. And just one wrong move, one little gust of wind could bring the whole thing tumbling down. The real danger here is that things could spiral out of control fast. A single miscalculation, a stray missile, a covert op that goes wrong. That could be the spark that ignites the whole powder keg. And the result wouldn't be some limited conflict. It would be a devastating regional war that could easily draw in global powers and totally reshape the world as we know it. And so that leaves us with this really haunting question. In a war fought in the shadows, where the rules are unwritten and the stakes are literally existential, is it only a matter of time before someone makes a fatal mistake?
At Geotectonics, our mission is to uncover these profound tectonic shifts, offering clarity in a world of complexity. If this analysis deepened your understanding, please like this video to support our work, share it with others who seek real insight, and subscribe to Geotectonics to ensure you never miss our next deep dive. We'll continue to explore the crucial geopolitical movements that define our time. Thank you for joining us.